Thank you for joining For Our Special Kids, where we openly and honestly discuss the magic and the mess of raising a child with special needs. We are thrilled to have you here and hope this time provides you with some wonder and wisdom. I'm your host, Jennifer Lansing. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy day to listen to this episode. I had some troubles figuring out what to title this episode because the beginning of our conversation was based on my response, or rather lack of response, to when people ask me the question, what's her diagnosis? And really, I think that means they're trying to ask, what's wrong with her? I find myself not handling this question very well. So I asked my friend Kristen how she handles it with her son, Austin. And we did some brainstorming, and I feel a lot better about how to address it. Then we also look at why people ask the question in general, what they're really seeking, how asking if someone needs help might actually change a mama's entire day, or how a simple smile can just bring peace and joy. So we talk about quite a few things, and I hope you enjoy. However, before I send you into this episode, I wanted to let you know that I have some exciting news. I have started sharing a little bit more of my and Teal's personal story on our website, www.forourspecialkids.com. So you can head over to the blog section of the website to learn a little bit more about us. And I also do some venting and just sharing of what's going on in our life or struggles that I'm having on there. So take some time to check that out if you don't mind. I also received a message from a listener asking me about mom rage. Insert sigh. Oh, I definitely have mom rage. So we are going to record an episode about this, and I would love to hear your stories or your solutions. If you'd like to share your thoughts, please send me an email at jen@forourspecialkids.com, or you can message us on Instagram or Facebook, and we are at For Our Special Kids. I look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy and have a great day. I'm back with Kristen O'Meara, and I all of a sudden got into my podcast voice, and I'm like, oh no, hold on. So we're just chit-chatting, and I have a question that I want to ask you to just springboard us into a chat.
Wonderful.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I wrote a blog post basically on how irate I get when strangers ask me, what is Teal's diagnosis?
Oh, yes.
I get so mad. Like, who do you think you are? And they'll say, oh, I hope you don't mind me asking. Well, I do mind you asking. It's different when it's a friend. Okay. I had a friend recently say, I don't know if I can ask this. I don't know how to. She was a new friend. That's totally different. But complete strangers who walk up to me and say, basically, what's wrong with her? That's basically what they're trying to figure out.
Right.
And I get so heated. So I would love to just.
Oh, well, I can completely understand why you would get angry. It's interesting that you bring that up because I read recently when someone dies, so often people will ask, well, how did they die? What happened? And it could be just a variety of ways to ask that question rather than taking a pause in a moment to see what's happening in a different way. So when we're just stuck in our head, when we're thinking about it from the egoic mind, that lower mind that just needs to know to assess the environment, put it in a category so we can, have that in our head because we don't really understand what we're seeing,
right?
Then those questions will come like, well, what's happening? Why is Austin talking to the vegetables? Because that's it used to be one of his favorite things to do. I mean, he wasn't using words, but he would, whenever we went to the grocery store, that was like his thing. He went straight to the vegetables. He doesn't want to eat them. He would have his toy and play with them and talk to them. And he could spend half an hour, 40 minutes over there.
Wow.
I remember getting those questions, not many. It was mostly just stares and like, why would you let your kid do that? And
Yes.
He's not ripping them up. I don't really see what the big deal was.
No.
My interpretation of that from where people are coming from, it's like assessing anything in their environment that doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
that they
Different.
can't
They
understand.
can't put
So,
into a box that feels comfortable.
yeah, so that's what the lower mind or whatever part of our mind is needing to do that, which has
Mm-hmm.
evolved and kept us safe, I guess, from wild things in the
Right.
environment. Like, what
Right.
is this? What is that? What is this? Is this, can I,
Sure.
is this, do I need to like be alarmed about that? So it's that categorical labeling function that we have in our brain, and
Like the
people who do,
reptilian mind, right? Like the part of our brain that's reptilian.
yeah, that
Yeah.
lower mind, that
Okay.
fight or flight response that we get. So when we don't understand something, again, we're not seeing it in its entirety. Folks who do that, and it's unfortunate, and I doubt it's coming from like you said, it's not something to be harmful or malicious or to cause anyone harm, but that, I don't think that's the intention, but that's what's happening because you are feeling, I'm assuming, you can tell me if I'm wrong, that you're invading my privacy. You're not seeing my child for who my child is. Who gives a crap? Please come to me and say hello. How are you? Maybe do you need any help? I can't tell you. I think I've had maybe one or two people in public spaces that have offered to help me
Yeah.
the entire time I've had Austin. Escaping from grocery stores, escaping from public spaces, me running around. I had so few people ask if I needed help, but I had so many people stare
Mm-hmm.
and judge.
Judge. Yeah.
I'm also aware that my interpretation of those stares could be something that they're not. It could be like, oh, what's happening? Instead of like judgment.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Kristen. I get a lot of stares of curiosity. Like,
Yeah,
what is really going like when they're watching Teal? And, she's very captivating. So people stare for a variety of different reasons, but, and whatever, I've gotten used to it. And I don't know.
it never really, even when gosh, Austin's taller than me and he loves every day to go to the swing in our park. And here I am, pushing him on the swing.
Right.
He's got to be 180,
Right.
5'9", 10. And there's so many people who are around us and we get so much staring. And I thought yesterday, actually, when we were out there, I was like, God, it would be so nice if someone could just come over and say, hi, how are you? I
Isn't that
just,
the simplest thing? It's like, why do you think I'm not a typical person? Like, I'm a mom with a child. There's plenty of things to talk about. There's plenty of things. Hey, how was your day? What's going on? Oh, where's your favorite coffee place in town? There are so many questions that can start conversations, but people are so afraid
they're
of
afraid.
saying the wrong thing, I suppose. And isn't it silly if someone would just be like, hi, and I do it, right? How many times don't you in the park find yourself initiating conversations to almost make other people feel better?
Yeah.
Oh,
And we see pretty much the same folks. They're all in the neighborhood because this is a green space that is in the middle of tons of houses. So we're seeing the same folks. And to get back to what you're saying, I was looking at that last night and I was like, okay, Austin's with his adaptive adult tricycle. And here I am. He's asking me to push him a lot. And there are people all over the place kind of looking at us and looking away, looking at us, looking away.
mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is just fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear of the unknown is a huge motivator for people.
Yes.
And I don't really know how to find solution to this. So if I notice that a child is staring at Teal, let's say in the park, I will take Teal over to them and say, hi, this is my daughter, Teal. She's 7. How old are you? And I just start talking to
Right.
them.
That's beautiful.
Or if I see another person staring and I can't like just pick up Teal and go like over, I might just wave and be like, hi, how are you? And I try to take it away. But my biggest thing is for those people that aren't children. Like, I have a lot more understanding for a child who stares at us than
Yeah.
an adult. If a child is, I mean, I had one person ask who is in her class a couple of days ago, do you even understand, Teal? Like, what is she saying? Do you speak yelling? I was like, do
That's
I
funny.
speak yelling? Because, Teal often just babbles and loudly in her own world. And do you speak yelling? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so much more soft when another 7-year-old asks me that versus an adult. Do you speak yelling? But even that would be better than staring. Like if
Yeah.
a parent would just say, like, how do you know what she's saying? That would start a conversation.
And you know what that is too? It's curiosity. And I think that's what's missing too, which I always, when I think of curiosity and objectivity and nonlinear thinking, processing, it's the higher mind. Cause I have to, look at this in different parts sometimes to
Mm-hmm.
understand myself and other people. And when we're not curious and if we don't have an open heart, then we're going to miss so many opportunities to learn and to connect.
Well, and think of how many people miss an opportunity to meet you and Austin because they're just staring. I
Yeah.
mean, and he's magical. I've been around him. He's like, whoa, so smart and so funny. And, these little quirks that he has, like they're fun. And
Yeah.
if you dive in a little bit more and come at it with curiosity and not judgment or what's wrong. I mean, I think that's where we all started here is I do believe that when someone asks me what's her diagnosis, they're really just curious what's wrong. And I've tried to figure out the best way to answer that without being a bitch.
And I can understand why you would feel that way.
Because
Yeah.
I want to be like, why the F does it matter? Like, what's her diagnosis? How are you going to treat her differently? Are you going to treat her differently
Exactly.
because you know what her diagnosis is?
And what is driving that need to know?
Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out how to nicely say it. Right now I simply say, we just don't talk about it. I try not to label her. When she's old enough, her dad and I have decided if she wants to talk about it, she can. But that's not my space to talk about it.
I
It's
think that's a
hers.
great response.
But I mean, I've had literally people get mad at me because I won't tell them.
Wow.
I'm like, what is wrong with you? And like, I mean, I
Wow.
literally had someone storm out of a market. And this happened like within a month ago. Storm out of the market. She's like, why wouldn't you tell me? I don't even know this woman. I've met her like twice.
Wow.
Now, she may be a little unstable. Who knows? But, you know, and it's so, and I don't know, maybe it's, they feel like they can ask because Teal's young still. And maybe they're not asking you anymore because Austin is older. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. I have revealed, I don't, that's interesting because, like, during parent meetings or being involved in school, talking about Austin having autism was just a natural thing for me. I
Mm.
didn't phrase it in that way of, like your decision to wait for Teal to have that choice to
Now
reveal.
I will interrupt you. All of her doctors and her school
Oh, they all
professionals
know.
and
Oh, of
all, I mean,
course.
everybody that actually needs to know
Right. Oh,
knows.
that I assume
Yeah.
that.
Okay. I
I'm
was like,
just
oh God, I
thinking,
want to provide some clarity there.
oh, no, no, no. The thing about it is, I don't remember maybe but one or two people asking for his diagnosis,
Oh God, it happens all the time to me.
but I would get a ton of stares and stepping back. And when I clearly needed help, not getting help. But then I also had to learn to ask for help. So that was
Yeah.
a lesson for me.
That's a lesson for all of us, Kristen.
Yeah.
It's a
So
lesson for all of us.
I think I'm circling back to this because I think the way Austin presented himself had enough characteristics of autism that I think people put it together. That's my sense. So I think that's why perhaps it's a little different.
Sure.
But I do feel like it is not something that people need to know, that they can keep those questions to themselves. And that is something very private. Also, too, from an emotional point of view, I feel like it really, for me, it really activates me. It really upsets me because like just what you said, there's so much more to our children than what people would deem deficits.
Yeah.
And we're working really hard in our lives to accept our life circumstances and to accept our lives as parents of complex parenting and to accept the challenges every day that we face. And we want to love. We want to find joy and like your beautiful channeling in every situation that we're in.
Yeah.
So when someone's like, hey, what's going on with your child? Why is she so different? It undermines our work too. And for me, it feels not supportive because we clearly have lives that are very challenging and we deserve respect and love and compassion. And from what you're saying, when people ask that, that's not the sense I'm getting. Although I don't think they mean probably to cause harm. I don't think they understand what they're doing.
Well, as you were talking, my heart got so heavy because it reopens a wound. What you're talking about is we try so hard to fit in. We try so hard to just give our children this normal, in quote, life, right? I try every day to have her feel like she is just like every other typical kid. And when someone asks you, it like reopens up all of this grief and wounding that you're just like, God, I don't want to talk about it. Like, we are so much more than this. Can we just not go there? And so I can feel, I can feel it's heavy in my heart and my throat right now. Like it does. And I think if people are listening that don't have children or don't have parenting complexities like you're talking about, like we do, I love that, by the way, maybe giving them some words, like, you don't even have to talk about that. You can
How
say,
about just a smile? How about a smile?
Exactly. Or wave, hey, how's your day going? I mean, seriously. Hope you have a good
Teal
day.
is so drop dead gorgeous, angelic.
You're sweet.
Can we just have someone come up to you guys and say, Teal's eyes are the most incredible eyes I've ever seen in my life. I hope you all have a good day. Please, can we just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I get fired up, girl. I mean, I'm not my best self when things like this happen. And I have to check myself too and my anger and that's another lesson. It's like, okay, how can I love in this situation? How can I find my center? How can I know what's really important? But I do hear what you're saying. It's like the education, I think, really needs to happen too for other folks.
Curiosity, we talked about that earlier. That might be an answer that I could come back with is, hey, I really appreciate your curiosity. Because that would be a more loving approach of like my heart opening up and saying, I appreciate that you're curious. We just don't even really talk about it. Let me introduce you to Teal.
Oh my gosh, just that is just enough.
Right.
Because you've acknowledged. So that's one thing about when it's a perfect example of diffusing a situation, right? I used to have a better word to say that when I was in counseling and I can't remember right now.
Diffusing is high. Detonating the bomb would be the opposite. I'm kidding.
Yeah. So diffusing the situation that could be perhaps confrontational, you're seeing them, you're meeting them where they're at, and you're pivoting to something that's more positive. And how can you, unless, like you said, someone's really not grounded and not seeing things well, how can someone not flow in that direction? Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
I have asked at times, help me understand why you need to know.
Oh, you know what? People get so defensive with that.
I know. Now, this guy didn't, because he actually did have a reason. He's like, well, I work with a chief and I just wanted to make sure, like, that's the skiing program here in Tahoe. He's like, I just really want to make sure that you knew what it was about. And I just wanted, and I was like, okay, but you didn't have to say, what's her diagnosis? You could have just said, hey, have you heard about a chief? I work there.
Right. There's so many ways to go around that, but oh my goodness. But the way I think just acknowledging or validating where they're coming from, which is hopefully just curiosity, which I think most times it is. I mean, what else would it be?
Yeah.
And then just saying, no, we just don't talk about it.
It's not that big of a deal. This is Teal. Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. That's even better.
Right.
Oh my gosh. That's perfect.
So the last thing is what, and I know this sounds so silly that we actually have to talk about this, Kristen, but
Yeah.
if I were to give words to people that aren't in this situation. Now, I'm assuming most people that are listening are in this situation, but let's say a grandparent is in the park and whatever. There are easy things to do. Like, I mean, how simple is how is your day? Or what's your son's name? Or what'd you do this morning? Or
Or what's your kid into?
yeah,
What's your kid like to do?
you know,
He likes to talk to vegetables at the grocery store.
that's perfect. But I mean, you know what? But that would actually make it humorous. And that's sometimes what we have to do, right? We have to be like, his favorite thing to do is actually see spirits in the house. But today,
let's confuse them even more.
Okay, good. Check. Done that. Good. No, but I think it's just really empowering to just openly talk about that conversation. And, it reminds me, I've said this story a couple times, but Mother's Day of last year, we were in Yosemite and we went to this really nice brunch, and Teal decided she was not walking at the time. She is running almost right now, Kristen. Oh my God. I know. I'm so proud of her. She still trips and falls and bites through her lip, which she did just the other day, but she's all good. She's now doing the things that 12-month-olds do, right?
She's
falling.
learning.
She is. So she was on her knees, literally doing social laps in the restaurant. It was a small enough restaurant that we could see her. It was like a little boutique thing. And people, of course, were staring, but they were also like, hi, and acknowledging and whatever.
Aww.
Well, then she took off out into this foyer area. And so I was like, oh, hold on. I got to get up and go get that. That is her. So I walked out, and these two kids and their dad were standing there. And I picked up Teal or whatever. And I said, hi, this is Teal. What's your names? All the things that we do.
Yeah.
And I knew that they were looking at her with, curiosity, right? But, and I said, do you have some questions for Teal? And do you know what this little kid said?
Oh, what?
He said, yeah. What's her favorite color?
Oh.
And it just completely opened my eyes to, dude, this isn't all about differences.
So isn't that the solution, though? Isn't that the lesson that adults who have forgotten that wonderful curiosity and that childhood innocence, right? Out of the mouth of babes, it's like, that's it right there.
Yeah. So that's our big takeaway for everyone. Just ask people what their favorite color is.
And smile.
And smile.
And then from my perspective, see if they need any help.
Yes. It is true. And, don't be surprised if every now and then someone's like, yeah, actually, can you just stand here? I need to run to the car and grab something, or, whatever.
How about, I don't know if I would leave Austin and
okay, that's a good point. Hey, hey, stranger, can you watch my kid for, I'm kidding.
But if your intuition's telling you that, there's someone, say, for example, at the movie theater, and I can't tell you how many times I was unable to use the bathroom with Austin. I can't even, I don't even know how to explain holding that.
Or you just don't drink as much. Because you're like, I can't. Like on an airplane, I used to not drink at all because I was like, well, I can't use the toilet. I can't use the facilities. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of phenomenal because it wasn't safe. And then I was able to bring Austin into bathrooms, but only to a point. Then when he got bigger, blah, blah, blah. So when he got bigger, I couldn't. And anyway, there are too many bathroom stories to talk about.
So movie theater.
The movie theater. So if I saw someone sitting there and, I felt like my intuition was telling me it was okay. Can you please? Well, that would be me asking for help. But perhaps, unless this person's so psychic, she knew that I had to pee. I don't know. But yes, just tuning into the situation. That probably wasn't the best example, but I think it's because I've had so many movie theater experiences of not being able to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Just, folks tuning into the situation, looking at what's happening with your heart and responding from there.
It is. It's using your heart. It's just realizing, like, if this were a typical situation, what would I say to my friend? Well, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say we're at a baseball game And I stand up and I look at anyone. I'm like, hey, I'm going to the concession stand. Does anyone need anything? Does anyone want anything? Gosh, wouldn't that be amazing if in the movie theater someone said, hey, I'm going to go grab some popcorn. Does your son want anything?
Oh
Or
my
do you?
gosh.
Like, are
Oh
you
my
kidding me?
gosh. Oh my
Because
gosh.
what the hardest thing for me, and I heard this on I don't know, some social media thing, is when you ask the question, how can I help? The person who needs the help has to actually then get creative and think about, okay, hold on. So it's much easier to simply say no. Or, it's different if it's like, yeah, can you just hold this bag for me? Right. That's different. But when we're really in a desperate situation, sometimes when someone says, can I help or how can I help? It's really hard to come up with something. But if they were to say, hey, can I put that bag up there for you? Let me take that from you. I've got it. Let me put it up there. Or I'm running here. I'm going to the grocery store. What can I grab you? Do you need milk? Do you need some orange juice? But it's giving me something tangible to be like, oh my gosh, you're right. The grocery store. Okay, hold on. Yeah. Can you grab this?
Yeah.
So it's not just saying, how can I help? Or do you need help? It's giving it a next step if someone can think about it that way.
I think that's a great idea. And then for me, I had to learn a really big lesson in asking for help.
Yes.
One of many lessons Austin taught me is I've got to learn to ask for help, because I've always been the one to just figure it out, do it. So that's a big one for me. But yes, just for anyone who's listening, like you said, if you see a parent who's got a lot on their plate,
any parent, truthfully.
And if you don't need help, my goodness, wouldn't it be just so nice to leave the store or whatever and go, wow, someone asked me if I needed help.
Yes.
That'd make my day.
I know.
Or even a big smile.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true too. Just a smile. And you said that a couple of times. Just a kind
I think smile. I need people smiling at me, Jen.
I do too. I'm like, hey, I'm smiling. Thank you for spending some time with me.
Of course, anytime.
And sharing your beautiful wisdom. The Healing Way, your book, will be coming out next year, 2024, in the spring. So exciting. I just got to see the cover. It's beautiful. And we'll definitely have you come on and talk about that, because that really is for parents with children that have special needs that are trying to process through grief into joy, right?
Yes, 19 lessons. It's broken up in that I've learned from raising Austin.
So amazing. I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's more like a resource, right?
Yes, it's a big book. Yeah. It's not a short read, and it's not supposed to be. It's just something you pick up when you want some information that might help you think about a situation or experience differently.
I love it.
A book of inspiration is what I hope it will be.
Nice. I can't wait to get my hands on it and read it. All right, my dear. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found one or two meaningful nuggets of information to make your day better. If you think there's value in what we do, please take a moment to tell another friend, family member, or a caregiver. We'd love to hear from you at forourspecialkids@gmail.com. You can send in a question, a comment, a topic that you'd like to learn more about, or if you'd like us to highlight a certain person, please send that information to us. It makes our show so much better and so much more valuable for you. Our Facebook and Instagram handle is For Our Special Kids. And finally, remember to witness the wonder and the wisdom within yourself and others. Until next time.